All right, get ready to dive into the world of Indian commercial real estate. We're taking a deep dive into Mindspace REIT's latest quarterly report.
They've got quite the portfolio, don't they?
Yeah, 13.2 million square feet of leasable space, and get this, a whopping 96.7% of it's already occupied.
Impressive.
We've got all the juicy details from their financials to press releases ready for a thorough examination.
So it's not just about looking at the numbers, right? We're going beyond that to decode what they tell us about the Indian office market.
Exactly. What trends are we seeing, and what does it all mean for investors like you?
Yeah.
Let's unpack it, starting with their Q3 FY25 performance.
Sounds good.
Mindspace leased out a massive 1.7 million square feet.
That's a lot of space.
It is. And their releasing spread was a remarkable 26.4%.
Meaning they're securing higher rents for renewed leases?
Exactly. What do you think is driving that kind of pricing power?
Well, it seems businesses are willing to pay a premium for what Mindspace offers.
Could it also be a reflection of the overall demand for office space in India?
Definitely. The press release highlighted that about 36% of office space transactions last year involved global capability centers, those hubs set up by multinationals.
Oh, those hubs?
Yeah. And Mindspace, with its modern spaces and strategic locations, seems to be a magnet for these companies.
Speaking of magnets, their new R2 building in Pune is fully pre-leased.
1 million square feet to a major multinational corporation even before it's finished.
Wait, 1 million square feet pre-leased before completion? That's incredible. What's driving that kind of demand?
It shows the confidence businesses have in Mindspace.
They're willing to commit to space even before it's built.
Exactly. It's a strong signal of the company's reputation and how desirable their properties are.
So Mindspace seems to be in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, they do.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's break it down for investors who might not be familiar with REITs.
Good idea.
What exactly are they?
Well, a REIT, or Real Estate Investment Trust, is a company that owns and operates income-producing real estate.
So when you invest in a REIT,
You're essentially becoming a part owner of their entire portfolio of properties.
what's in it for the investors?
Primarily dividends.
Dividends.
REITs distribute a big chunk of their rental income to shareholders.
I see.
So Mindspace's strong rental growth and high occupancy are fantastic news for investors.
Because it could mean higher dividends.
Right.
Speaking of dividends, they just announced a distribution of 5.32 rupees per unit for Q3.
A 10.9% jump from last year.
That's a total payout of 3,155 million rupees.
Wow.
For our listeners, mark your calendars. The record date is January 29th, and the payment date is February 5th.
Important dates. The record date determines who's eligible for the dividend.
And the payment date, well, that's payday. Now, a REIT's success relies heavily on its tenants.
That's true.
Who are the companies driving Mindspace's performance?
They've got a diverse mix, over 225 tenants.
That's a lot.
It's a good sign for investors because it spreads the risk.
Makes sense.
Currently, technology dominates, making up 41.4% of their gross contracted rentals.
Followed by
Financial services at 18.3% and flexible workspaces at 10.3%.
sounds like a solid foundation.
It does.
Let's dig into their financials.
All right.
What numbers stood out to you?
Well, their net operating income, or NOI, saw an 8.3% growth year on year,
Reaching,
5,218 million rupees.
showing their core operations are becoming more profitable.
Exactly. How about you? What caught your eye?
Their loan-to-value ratio, or LTV, it's at a comfortable 22.6%.
Which means
They're managing their debt responsibly, not overly reliant on borrowing.
that's a good sign. A low LTV can be a positive indicator of financial health.
And their average cost of borrowing is a respectable 8.07%.
Keeping those borrowing costs in check helps maintain healthy profit margins, which ultimately benefits investors.
All right, let's shift gears and look beyond the numbers.
Okay.
What's Mindspace planning for the future?
They've got a whopping 4.6 million square feet under construction.
That's a lot of construction.
It signals their ambition to continue expanding their portfolio.
A development pipeline that big sounds ambitious.
It is.
Are there any red flags we should be aware of?
Well, execution risk is a key concern.
Meaning?
Delivering on such a large pipeline requires meticulous planning and efficient project management.
And the ability to navigate potential delays or cost overruns.
Exactly.
And we can't forget about the changing dynamics of the workplace.
True.
Remote work is becoming more common.
And many companies are embracing hybrid models.
Could that impact the demand for traditional office spaces?
It's a valid concern, one that Mindspace needs to address proactively.
So how can they mitigate these potential risks and stay ahead of the curve.
Well, they're not just building any office space.
What are they doing differently?
They're creating modern and sustainable workplaces that cater to the needs of a changing workforce.
I was intrigued by their experience center initiatives.
Oh, yeah, what about it?
It's like they're designing a whole ecosystem within their business parks.
With amenities ranging from entertainment and sports facilities to premium dining and recreational spaces.
What do you think about this approach?
It's a brilliant strategy. They're going beyond just providing office space.
They're focusing on the overall tenant experience.
Exactly. They're creating spaces that people actually want to come to.
Even in a world of remote work,
Right.
they're almost blurring the lines between work and life.
Integrating elements of leisure and well-being into the work environment.
And by doing so,
They're likely boosting employee satisfaction and productivity, which ultimately benefits their tenants' businesses.
it sounds like they're taking a proactive approach to address these evolving work trends.
Definitely.
But it'll be interesting to see how these trends play out in the long run and how companies like Mindspace adapt.
Absolutely. It'll be fascinating to watch.
You know, we can't ignore the growing focus on sustainability.
It's more than just a buzzword these days.
How does Mindspace demonstrate its commitment to sustainability?
Well, for starters, they've achieved significant reductions in their Scope 1 and 2 emissions.
How much of a reduction are we talking?
They've reached a 30.4% reduction from their FY20 baseline.
That's pretty impressive.
It shows they're making tangible progress in reducing their environmental footprint.
What else are they doing?
They're actively incorporating renewable energy sources into their operations, aiming for a higher mix.
What about water conservation and waste management?
They're focusing on responsible practices for both across all their properties.
And their buildings, are they designed with sustainability in mind?
Absolutely. Most of their buildings are certified green buildings, either gold or platinum rated by IGBC or LED.
Those are high standards.
They are, and these certifications demonstrate their commitment to sustainable building practices.
So they're taking a holistic approach to sustainability.
From reducing their operational impact to designing eco-conscious buildings.
But how does this translate into real benefits for Mindspace and their tenants?
That's a key question, isn't it?
It can't just be about feeling good.
Right, it has to have a real impact.
So how does their sustainability focus affect their bottom line?
Well, sustainable buildings are often more energy efficient, leading to lower operating costs.
Because they save money.
Exactly. Plus, they tend to attract tenants who prioritize sustainability, potentially allowing Mindspace to charge premium rents.
And let's not forget the investors who are increasingly factoring in ESG performance.
Absolutely. Mindspace's strong ESG performance could make them a more attractive investment option for those who want to align their portfolios with their values.
It sounds like sustainability is a win-win-win for everyone involved.
It's a smart business strategy that can drive long-term value for Mindspace, their tenants, and their investors.
But we should remember that sustainability is an ongoing journey.
It's not a destination.
Mindspace needs to constantly evaluate their practices, set ambitious goals, and adapt to the evolving landscape of sustainability standards.
You're absolutely right. It's a continuous process.
All right, let's pause here for a moment.
Sounds good?
We've covered a lot of ground already. We've explored Mindspace's recent performance, their growth strategy, and the broader trends shaping the Indian office market.
We've seen how they're strategically positioned to capitalize on the growing demand for modern and sustainable office spaces.
Driven by those multinational companies expanding their footprint in India.
Right. But we also need to consider the potential challenges they might face.
Especially with the evolving world of work and changing tenant expectations.
It's fascinating how Mindspace is actively addressing these challenges.
Embracing innovation and sustainability as core drivers of their strategy.
It's an interesting approach.
And that brings us to a thought-provoking question for our listeners.
What is it?
As the lines between work and life continue to blur and technology reshapes our expectations of the workplace, what will the office of the future look like?
What will truly matter to you as a potential tenant or investor?
We encourage you to dive deeper into this question and explore different perspectives.
After all, the future of work is not predetermined. It's a conversation we're all part of.
And we'd love to hear your thoughts on what that future holds. Welcome back. We were just talking about the future of the office, but before we jump back into that, let's switch gears and talk about another key aspect of Mindspace's success. Corporate governance. They've earned recognition for their transparency and ethical conduct.
It's true, especially in an industry where that's not always the norm. Their commitment to strong corporate governance is pretty commendable,
They have a majority independent board.
which helps ensure unbiased decision-making and protects the interests of all stakeholders, not just a select few.
And they've received high marks for their ESG performance, ranking among the top performers in their industry,
Their ESG performance has really earned them recognition.
especially in areas like energy efficiency and waste reduction.
It's placed them among the leaders in sustainable real estate practices.
So it's more than just profits for them.
Yeah.
They're committed to doing business responsibly
Right.
and contributing to a more sustainable future.
Exactly. It's not just lip service. You can see it in their actions
In their financial reports, their operational practices.
and their engagement with the community.
It's refreshing to see a company like Mindspace proving that you can be financially successful and responsible.
Absolutely.
It sets a great example for others in the industry.
It really does.
It shows that sustainability isn't just a nice to have,
It's a smart business strategy.
one that creates long-term value for all stakeholders.
Right.
Let's zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture.
Okay.
Where does Mindspace fit within the Indian economy as a whole?
Well, commercial real estate, especially the office segment, is a crucial part of India's economic growth
It's tied to job creation, foreign investment,
and overall business activity.
and Mindspace, with its prime office spaces in key economic hubs, is at the heart of this.
Exactly. Their performance is a good indicator of the health of the Indian economy.
And their growth suggests a bright future for the sector.
It does.
It's exciting to see this potential for growth and innovation in the Indian commercial real estate market.
It is.
And Mindspace seems to be playing a key role in shaping it.
They're setting a new standard for the industry with their modern, sustainable, and tenant-centric workspaces.
But the market is constantly evolving. New trends are emerging.
That's true.
Tenant expectations are shifting.
Uh-huh.
So how can REITs like Mindspace stay ahead of the curve?
Adaptability is key.
Being willing to embrace change.
Exactly. REITs need to constantly evaluate the market, anticipate future needs.
And adjust their strategies.
It's not just about building and managing properties
It's about understanding the market dynamics
and staying one step ahead,
and building strong relationships with tenants,
understanding their needs.
providing solutions that go beyond the physical space.
It's about creating a true partnership, a collaboration between the REIT and its tenants.
You've talked about the importance of sustainability.
Yes.
But how can REITs like Mindspace measure the actual impact of their sustainability initiatives?
It's one thing to implement eco-friendly practices, but demonstrating their real-world effects is crucial.
It's about accountability too, right?
Absolutely. Showing stakeholders that they're serious about sustainability and committed to making a positive impact.
So how do they measure it?
There are several frameworks and metrics.
Okay.
One common one is the Global Reporting Initiative, or GRI. It provides standards for reporting on economic, environmental, and social performance.
So it's not just about the financial bottom line.
Right. It's a more holistic view of their impact.
What specific metrics do REITs like Mindspace track?
They track things like energy consumption, water usage, waste generation, and greenhouse gas emissions.
What about their social impact?
They measure that too.
Things like their contributions to the community.
Exactly. And their efforts to promote diversity and inclusion.
So it's a comprehensive way of assessing their overall impact,
It's an ongoing process, aiming for continuous improvement,
identifying areas where they can do better.
setting ambitious goals.
Now let's talk about regulations.
Okay.
What are the key regulations governing REITs in India?
The main framework is the Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI, Real Estate Investment Trusts Regulations, 2014.
Those regulations set the rules for how REITs operate in India.
Exactly. They ensure transparency, protect investor interests, and promote the development of the REIT market.
So they provide a clear roadmap for REITs.
They do.
What are some of the key provisions of these regulations?
They cover a wide range of aspects, including minimum asset size, investment restrictions, debt limits.
Dividend distribution policy.
Yes, and corporate governance requirements.
They also mandate regular disclosures and reporting, right?
Yes, to maintain transparency.
So it's a comprehensive framework designed to protect investors and ensure the stability of the REIT market.
Exactly.
It's interesting how these regulations have evolved over time,
They've adapted to the market's needs.
ensuring investor confidence in this relatively new asset class.
Right.
Speaking of investor confidence, how has the Indian REIT market performed in recent years?
It's experienced steady growth since its inception in 2014. The number of listed REITs has increased, and the market capitalization has expanded significantly.
So it's attracting investors
Absolutely. REITs offer a unique way to invest in real estate,
without the hassle of direct ownership,
and they provide regular income through dividends.
making them attractive to income-seeking investors.
That's right.
What's the future outlook for the Indian REIT market?
It remains positive.
Because of.
India's strong economic growth, rising urbanization, and a growing middle class.
So there's potential for significant growth in the coming years.
There is, and REITs are well positioned to benefit from it.
We've been focused on Mindspace REITs,
Yes.
but are there other prominent REITs operating in India?
Yes, there are a few others listed on the Indian stock exchanges.
Such as?
Embassy Office Parks REIT, they're one of the largest in India.
What about them?
They own and operate a portfolio of office parks in key cities like Bangalore and Pune.
Are there any others that stand out?
Brookfield India Real Estate Trust is another notable one.
Who do they own?
They own and operate commercial properties in major cities like Mumbai and Gurgaon,
So there's a growing ecosystem of REITs in India,
each with their own portfolio and investment strategy
giving investors more choices.
to suit their investment goals and risk appetite.
All right, let's bring it back to Mindspace.
Okay.
We've covered their operational performance, their financial health,
Their growth strategy.
and the broader trends shaping the Indian REIT market.
We've seen how Mindspace is well positioned to capitalize on the demand for modern, sustainable workspaces.
Driven by multinational companies expanding in India,
But we should also keep in mind the potential challenges they might face.
especially with the changing world of work and tenant expectations.
It's interesting how Mindspace is addressing these challenges head on.
Through innovation and sustainability.
It's a key part of their strategy.
Now, for our listeners, here's a thought-provoking question. In this changing world of work, with blurring lines between work and life, and technology reshaping everything, what will the defining features of the office of the future be?
What features will truly matter to you as a tenant or an investor?
We encourage you to explore this question, consider different perspectives.
Share your thoughts with us.
Understanding the future of the office is not just about predicting trends,
It's about shaping them.
and we're all part of that conversation. We've been taking a deep dive into Mindspace REIT, their performance, their strategies, and even their commitment to sustainability. But now, let's zoom out, way out, and look at the bigger picture. Globalization. How's all this interconnectedness impacting the Indian commercial real estate market, and Mindspace in particular?
Well, globalization has had a huge impact on commercial real estate everywhere, and India is no different. Think about it. Multinational companies are on the rise, capital's flowing across borders, and economies are more interconnected than ever. All of that is shaping the Indian real estate landscape.
So how's Mindspace responding to this globalized world? Have they shifted their strategy to appeal to a broader audience?
Oh, absolutely. They've positioned themselves to cater to the needs of these multinational companies. Their prime office spaces and key economic hubs, their commitment to international standards of design and sustainability. They really understand what global businesses are looking for, which makes them a preferred choice for those multinational tenants.
So they're not just playing in the Indian market, they're competing on a global scale.
Exactly. And they're doing well. They're attracting tenants from all over the world, making a name for themselves in the global commercial real estate arena.
Let's shift gears a bit and talk about another aspect of globalization, the flow of capital. How has that impacted the Indian REIT market?
The influx of foreign capital has actually been a big driver of growth for the Indian REIT market. International investors are seeing the potential in Indian real estate, especially in the commercial segment. And REITs, they offer a convenient and transparent way for those investors to get involved.
So it's mutually beneficial. Foreign investors get access to a promising market, and the Indian REIT market gets that boost from the influx of capital.
Precisely. This influx of capital has fueled development, upgrades to existing properties, and just the overall growth of the entire REIT sector in India.
It sounds like a pretty dynamic environment.
It is.
Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into Mindspace REIT, what are the key takeaways for our listeners? What should they remember?
Well, first and foremost, Mindspace is a well-managed and financially sound REIT. They've got a strong portfolio of prime office spaces in those key economic hubs we talked about. Second, their focus on sustainability, innovation, and that tenant experience really sets them apart.
And third, they're in a prime position to benefit from those broader growth trends in the Indian commercial real estate sector. Globalization, urbanization, a rising middle class. It's all working in their favor.
Right, but it's important to remember that the market never stands still. It's always evolving. REITs like Mindspace need to stay agile, anticipate what's coming next, and be ready to adapt their strategies.
They can't just ride the current wave. They need to be prepared to navigate those ever-changing tides of the market.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That takes foresight, planning, and a real deep understanding of the forces that are at play in commercial real estate.
Well, we've reached the end of our deep dive into Mindspace REIT. We hope you found it informative, insightful, and maybe even a little bit inspiring.
As always, we encourage you to keep digging deeper, asking questions, and challenging those assumptions. The world of commercial real estate is fascinating and complex, and there's always something new to learn.
And don't forget, the future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create through our choices, the investments we make, and the conversations we have. So stay curious, stay informed, and be part of the dialogue. Until next time.